How are you doing?
I'm okay. This is like, thank goodness this was online. This is like a very early time.
I know, and then we got, well, we
What's
were
that management
trying to,
tonight?
well, it was ad hoc, but that got moved.
Oh yeah, it was ad hoc
So we
tonight.
didn't actually have to meet this early, but we didn't know
It was
that
too
until
late.
today.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Well,
how it
that's
goes.
okay. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm glad that you guys are able to do this.
Yes, squeeze this in.
So I don't think that Brett is coming tonight, but Carl had replied that he would.
Okay. I'm gonna turn my camera off because I'm gonna eat. Okay.
That's fine. So once Carl arrives, then we'll have quorum. Remember the old days, Dan, when it was just two of us? It was just Adam and me.
Memories. You know, I haven't sung in a while.
I was. We're on to my plan. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Is there also an agenda that can be shared with me?
Yes, I can do that. I actually gonna put it up on the screen if my technology works, which is kind of scary. But Carolyn, for you, Carolyn, you know, for you, one sec, please.
Okay.
Oh, puppy. Who's this, Carolyn?
This is Murphy. He's 1 year old.
Oh. We can't have anything furry because we have way too many allergies in our house, and it's the saddest thing.
Aw.
Oh no. Even the non-allergenic, like the dogs
Yeah.
that are, yeah.
There are too many. So, like, one's allergic to one set, another's allergic to
Yeah.
another set.
Yeah.
So, they're missing out. We're all missing out. So, Carolyn, we're waiting for one more to join, and then we'll have quorum.
Okie doke. When we get started, I'll just take my video off because I'm not feeling awesome. So I'll just spare you all.
I just sent it, Carolyn. If you can just check your email, please.
Sure thing.
Did you get it? Carolyn?
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for me. It's the outfield Dodger from Oliver. Come on, Carolyn. Listen, I haven't sung in a while. You're probably wondering, what get this guy wound up? Ask Mark. I was pretty wound up today, wasn't I, Mark?
Yeah, you sure were.
I don't hear Mark breaking out into Broadway.
It's the end of my day. I've been here since 5:15, so I'll put in my 12.
Yeah.
Dan will be here long after me, I'm sure.
I forgot that Ed's live streaming this, so the whole world just heard that now. Oh,
Are we
God.
streaming? Are we on Holden TV?
No, he's live streaming on YouTube or whatever. So the whole world just heard that. That's great. Love it. Love it.
Is this being recorded?
I don't know.
So I think
Um,
it's what live streamed now, and then but the record button hasn't been hit.
Thank
Okay.
goodness. Thank goodness.
I was gonna say we could go back and make some really good memes with that. TikTok, a good TikTok video.
Let's see, I didn't see a note um on anything on the invitation about. Let me just double check it. No. So did anyone have any fun winter, or not winter break, February break excitement?
We went to the ice castles.
Oh, how was that?
Cold, but fun. It was cool.
I
How
haven't
about
been
you?
there. No. No, I started the field work of my program, so the kids were tucked away at Wachusett Meadow.
Where's the where are the ice castles?
They're in Woodstock, New Hampshire.
All right.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a drive, but it's pretty cool.
The kids had awesome weather though, didn't they? For
They
camp
did.
last week. That week.
They
That
had
must have
a
had some
full
fun.
season.
Yeah, seriously, all in one
The
week,
whole
right?
year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They
That's
ended
good.
up getting canceled on the Friday.
Oh, that's right,
Um,
because of the snow. That's right. We had a big storm.
yeah, but that was fine.
Hmm. That's cool. That's good.
Yeah.
No, I just worked. We actually, that's not true. We went to the Museum of Science on Wednesday of that week. It was really fun. It was crowded though.
Mm.
We were spoiled with going there during COVID when no one was going.
Mm.
So
I think that was the nice day, right? Usually,
Wednesday was the gorgeous day. Yeah, it was
yeah,
really
that
nice.
usually works out for that was always what would happen at the Higgins. If there was
Yeah,
great weather, then it was empty. If it was
right.
bad
That's
weather,
what we were
then
hoping. We were
yeah.
hoping that people wouldn't, go so much. And maybe they didn't, but it was a lot more crowded than we're used to. So we had gone like during COVID. Um, I don't know. I think it was for vacation last year. I mean, like, and there was literally no one there. It was so nice. It was like we had the whole place to ourselves. It was really nice.
Yeah.
But people, you know. So can you message him? Any way to message him? You want me to drop him an email? That's all I have.
Yeah, I don't know, Dan, if you have contact for him.
I I don't have his cell number. No, I'm sorry. I can get it if you like. I mean,
If you can.
yep. Give me a sec. Yep. Linda, I'll give it to you in 1 second. I just sent it to you, Linda, in a text message. Oh, here he is.
Hi, Carl. All right. Well, so we have quorum. I'll call to order a meeting of the Facilities and Security Subcommittee. And actually, can I ask, Deirdre, would you mind taking the minutes tonight? I had meant to ask someone in advance and I forgot, so thank you for being
Sure, that's no
flexible.
problem.
All right, so then the first item is the approval of the minutes of January 20th, 2022. I looked at them again. I was going to pass them over, but I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
And a second? Deirdre, you're on mute if you're...
So is it just us? Because I can't second them because I wasn't there, so I have to abstain from approving them.
I think you can
So-
still second them. If you don't feel comfortable, let's pass it over and we'll just take it up next time so we can move
Yeah.
on to the...
I'm not sure
Right.
how that would work if I
Well-
wasn't there, if I could take a second. If I
So
could.
you could second just moves it so that we could discuss it and vote on it.
Oh,
then-
okay.
When we get to the voting part, you can abstain then.
Okay. All right, sure. Then I'll second. That's fine.
Okay. All right. So any discussion? And then I'll do a roll call. Deirdre?
Abstain.
Carl?
Yes.
And Woodland says yes. All right. So then we'll do the moving on to capital requests. So just a little reminder of the timeline. After we discuss this, I'm hoping that we will move on to the motion, which, depending on how we decide that, we'll pass it on our recommendations to the full school committee meeting. I've already asked Chair Dennis to have this motion ready for, or a motion ready for the 3/7 meeting. Oh, thank you, Carolyn. Are we?
I'm sorry. That's me. I apologize. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you. So we all right. All right, we're good.
Okay, so we're recording now. And so we're looking at capital requests. So the motion that we look at today would be to recommend potential capital projects to go to the full committee on Monday. Depending on the full committee's decision, then they would go to the to the towns. And then in May, if these items are on the warrant, voters will decide if the project goes forward or not. So each of these projects is independent from each other. And I asked Dan to bring a priority for each town for us to consider. And if that works, Dan, are you ready to take it away?
Sure. So first of all, can you see the screen here with the motion for the 6 items?
I can see it, Dan.
Okay. And secondly, can you see the floor plan for Dawson?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's, so Mark and I met last week before, whatever, and we even spoke today. There are 6 items here, and we've talked about these at various points during the year, certainly during our capital process. First item is, again, the bathrooms over at Dawson. We were looking to have a meeting there a while back, and it got canceled. And the purpose of the meeting was to show you firsthand the building, less the necessary bathrooms. The second item, again, is a security system and cameras at Paxton Center. The third is the water system up at Thomas Prince. Number 4 is a electrical panel at Naquag. Number 5 is the carpeting that we talked about at the presentation with Holton Chalkset. And number 6 is for the high school is the tennis courts and the track. So I'd like to take each one individually, and if you don't mind, and I'll give you some background. Some things have happened in the interim that the chair is aware. I haven't had a chance to share with the larger committee. So you should see in front of you that helps it all. Actually, Mark did a nice job of marking this up. This is the floor plan over at Dawson, and again, currently there's a bathroom. If you can look at my pointer, where I'm drawing the circle, so to speak. That bathroom is located off the kitchen, which the staff currently use.
Dan, I got to interrupt. You're down in the kindergarten. You've got to move up to the middle of the page for the
Okay.
staff one.
Okay.
It's not really done in blue very well.
Okay. All right. I apologize.
Can anybody see my pointer?
That they can't.
Right there? That's the one we're talking about.
All right.
You
So
see it's labeled kitchen staff, and then you follow
Yep.
up to that.
Yep, there it is. This one here. Can
Yep.
you see my pointer there? So there's currently a bathroom through the kitchen that staff use, and that's a problem for the kitchen staff because of the interruptions of the people going through the kitchen to use that bathroom. So that's really a non-entity. So right now there is in essence, one bathroom for boys and girls. There's another bathroom, and hopefully you can see the pointer where we'd be looking to remodel if need be. And there's one staff bathroom in the building as well. I actually was speaking with the chair of finance today in Holden, and he was hoping to hop on the call with one of his colleagues. They were involved with the building project over at Dawson years back, and they were going to speak to this. I don't know, Mark, if you can see my pointer, I'm going to highlight these areas here. If you just want to speak to these areas here where there appears to be yellow, and this is where the other bathrooms were that were taken out. Can you see that? Okay, Mark?
Yeah, correct.
All right, so do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, those the ones that look orange were the ones that were removed during a previous construction or previous renovation. The ones that are kind of this pinkish color, that's where all the proposed work is to be done. You'll see proposed bathrooms, girls and boys, comes right down into the middle here next to a blue area that already is girls and boys. That's where we have some usable real estate and some storage, some dry goods storage that we can actually steal to make that happen. There's a very hard, it says proposed teacher down on the left, the arrow goes up right on the corner of that first set of grade 1 through 4 restrooms and the proposed, there's one little closet area that we can steal for an additional teacher or faculty bath. The way it breaks down now, if I've got my figures correct, and Dan can correct me if I don't, we're looking at about 65 staff, and with the staff ratio, they're looking at 1 toilet per 14 staff. So right now in that area, there's 2 toilets in the upper area. There was the 2 toilets they were using in the kitchen that we're going to lose. All right, and then there's the toilet that we want to propose. So there is a need for staff toilets whereas they have 4 and they're 1 short there. On the grade side, on the children's side, they propose or the state recommends 1 toilet per 30 students, of which we have 12. And with the 510, I believe that it's a projected enrollment, or is the enrollment there that I pulled off the web, that that would allow for 17 toilets, of which we only have 12. So we're 5 short on the student toilets. The toilets down to the left, where Dan first started, way down in the corner, there's a girls' and a boys' room down in there. They're servicing that whole wing from the proposed toilets where it says TLC, 2T, 1K, 2D, 1F, that whole section down there, kind of that L shape. They're servicing that whole section. That's where they have quite a backup. Those are the younger kids. They take longer in the restrooms. There is a backup, I've been told, of up to an hour through the principal, meeting with the principal in that area. So there is we're hoping that the proposed toilets on that corner by TLC, we could send half the classes that way. You know, that would be the objective. Any questions?
So, and just one final point here. In our plan, we had talked about approximately $400,000 for all this very comprehensive work. Yeah, I was talking to Mark today, and I said, Mark, this is a pretty big nut, and it all makes sense. But we also have to be sensitive as well to the town's finances, and what could we do if we had to scale it back. So at the end of the day, if we had to scale it back, and again, unfortunately, our representatives from Holden, couldn't make it, at least not as now. If we put in another bathroom for the boys, the girls, and one for the faculty and staff, it wouldn't solve everything, but certainly it would help the problem tremendously.
Yeah, that would eliminating. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I don't know what just happened. That would be eliminating the grade 5 bathrooms in the back remodel. Dan, we talked about taking that off the plate.
Yep.
What we're doing there is we're shrinking an oversized handicap bathroom, which is huge, and we're stealing some real estate from there to create an extra stall or 2, whatever we can grab to kind of relieve that. But we would probably, because that's fully functional right there as is. So that would be the break. That would be a good place to break for a cost savings if we were looking to do that. I don't know if the goal would be to get to that 17 number with the number of toilets that's required. I'm sure that would play into it.
So, in speaking again with the chair today for finance, and this will probably come up tomorrow night when we present out in Holden again, and just for the larger group, Kyle, I know I had a meeting back in November with the folks out in Paxton, and it was shortly after that the town administrator sent me a document to complete, which I did, for the town. As several of you know from my meeting out in Sterling, we talked about a couple things out there, but we did talk about the carpeting, for chalks in Holton. We've got something on the table with the town of Rutland. The town administrator has been speaking with myself, and he spoke to Mark quite some time ago, and Darrell. about a bond that maybe would be supported by town meeting. Again, town meeting decides. That would include doing a lot of repair, restructuring, if you will, of the parking lots. But he also said to us, because in our CIP, capital improvement plan, we do have an electrical project out at Naquag for 125,000. So he told me to throw that into the mix, which we will do. I didn't write my letter yet to the town administrator. Mark has a meeting, I think it's Thursday this week, to get some guys out to look at the parking lots out in Rutland. And we'd like to provide them with as accurate data as we can in terms of the numbers. That was his request to me. We did have our electrician meet Mark today out at Naquag, and he thought that the 125,000 that was in our plan was a good number for that project. The point in all this is that so tomorrow night, we're out and we're here actually in Holden, and our discussions have been solely on the budget, and I wanted to be a little bit proactive because this is of these projects. This project here, if it holds true, is the most expensive, at least in terms of the cost. All right, I'll be quiet.
Are there any questions? Go ahead, Carl.
So I think one question, at least that I can imagine, would come up for this project with the restrooms over there at Dawson, would be even about like the feasibility of retrograding or reverting some of those bathrooms that were taken away, making those back into bathrooms. Because it's a question of like, is the plumbing still there? Like, how easy would it be to tie back into the existing sewer water lines, or because that's just a question that I could foresee coming up. And if it's like it's been completely something that wouldn't be feasible, then it wouldn't be feasible. But like if some of that infrastructure is still in place, then it seems like that could potentially be lower cost than some newer construction where you're putting in more sewer and water.
Kyle, I'd like to respond to that real quick. I'm not sure why they were taken out. I don't know if there was a reason behind it, if there was some reason educationally, or I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe somebody closer to that project would maybe be able to help us with that. From what I can see, they've been cemented in and just sealed that way. The access to the areas we chose, there's a corridor that goes front to back that all that plumbing infrastructure runs through and right out through the front of the school. So that's why keeping the bathroom on the other side of that main corner there was a way that we could tie right in there. And then all we'd have to do is a slight bit of jackhammering in that area to get to that crawl space. It's about not quite 5 feet high, but somewhere around that area, which has all the mechanicals and all the plumbing for the school runs right through that area. So feasibly there, Kyle, we had put it there thinking that would be an easier shot to get a more functional bathroom. But yeah, that has been looked at, and I've got pictures of that whole area also. As far as opening up the ones back here, my question would be, was there a problem with them, and that's why they shut them down? Like maybe it wasn't working, maybe it was a distraction. I don't know. It's certainly not, from what I've seen, a conventional type of bathroom setup in a school where you have a bathroom serving 2 classrooms plopped in the middle of 2. You know what I mean, Kyle?
Well, over in Paxton, we've got bathrooms between the kindergarten rooms and the first grade rooms.
Okay.
And I think beyond that, they don't have them. So, I mean, I think and at least like in that first grade kindergarten area, I think it's a bit more common there than maybe on the third grade side.
I can't speak to why they were cemented in and sealed up. So but I think that could have some degree of difficulty. And a lot of those sections, the plumbing's poured in with the slab. You know, it's laid in place and then poured in afterwards. It would require a similar amount of jackhammering, I'm sure, to resolve.
So the proposal here, do you think that we would be able to have like an itemized list of, right? Because we're looking at a boys and girls bathroom by the TLC, a staff bathroom across the corridor from there, and then potentially adding in something with the 5th grade
Yeah, remote.
area.
Yeah, that's where they have the whole front's taken up by a large one stall, one toilet, water closet. That's right in the front. We could easily grab more real estate to add at least one, if not possibly 2 stalls and or a stall and a urinal, to just to increase the volume, or so to speak.
And then would that bring us to the 5 short?
Well, yeah, if we put 5 in, basically there's 5 in one of these sets. Okay, there's 3 girls stalls, two boys stalls, and then of course 2 urinals next to the boys stalls. And if we count toilets, the 17 we're looking for, we may not get that same configuration at TLC. We may be a stall short or something, where we could pick it up in those stalls back there. But yes, we would at least make the 17, if not possibly 18.
Okay. So
we would also be increasing the teachers by 1 also, that's needed. And I guess they would still count there's 2 in this kitchen area that they were using. They're side by side. So you would count those 2. That would bring you 5, because you have 2 in the middle. We're adding 1, and then you have 2 more in the kitchen area. Of course, there was an issue with the staff wandering through the kitchen area, you know, while they were, you know, I can see that, you know, everybody in there is working with hair nets and, you know, pretty sanitized. And
I apologize. I got my Holden reps. They're actually trying to get in here. Let me see if I can get them. I mean, we want to take a 30-second break, and you might be able to answer the history question here. If I can get Dave White is looking to jump on the meeting. Linda, he's all right. Here we go. 1 sec. Sorry. Hey, David. Hi, Dave. You're muted.
How's that?
Perfect, Dave. All right, welcome. Linda Woodland is our chair here, and Dave White on finance here, and Holden, and Dave was one of the folks very much involved with the Dawson rehab project years back. So, Dave, just to bring you up to speed real quick, I'm sorry, Linda, I apologize. I'm stealing your thunder. You can kick me.
Well, we're talking about the Dawson School, and we're looking at the. Can you see the shared screen with the plan?
Yep.
Yep. And so we're looking at the bathrooms and one of the big questions that we've brought up is what happened with do you see the orange markings on the floor plan?
Yep.
Those used to be bathrooms, and then they were filled in later.
Mm-hmm.
And so that has been a big question mark. Mark has presented other options as those seem to be cemented in. But, we're talking about bringing up the bathroom to student ratio to the state recommended levels. So I don't know if you have any history on the bathrooms that were filled in.
Well, at the time it was done, actually, I was chairman of the building committee, and at the time that it was done, first of all, as a SBA project in those days. They were SBAs, and it was done with the existing metrics at the time relative to the number of toilets per pupil and per adult. And so it was built to the code that was in place at the time that the building was built. So, this is actually, interesting. A lot. This is actually the first time that we have heard, as a town, at least, that there were some inadequacies there.
Well, then I guess it's a good time to start discussing it.
I guess I was looking at your agenda, and it gave an approximate price of $400,000. Can somebody tell me where that number came from?
Dave, I can jump in on that. That's a number that we had probably about a year or so ago, in that we've been looking at this project. Dave, the history here is that we haven't, in my 3.5 years here, brought forward any capital projects. This is the first year that we've had these discussions about potentially moving a project, no matter what it might be, to the respective town, for their annual town meeting. Obviously, just in the past 6 to 8 months, costs have changed dramatically. Labor costs and material costs, and that number would probably have to be further vetted. Linda did suggest a couple of minutes ago before you hopped on, and it actually makes good sense, that we look at the bathrooms that are proposed here, and prepare an itemized listing of each one, in the event that not everything proposed happens, but maybe 2 bathrooms happen, or 2 bathrooms for students happen, and maybe 1 for adults, and maybe that costs a third of that, but it's still a win-win, if you will, for the building. So that's got some legs on that number, Dave.
Yeah, but Dan, all due respect, that didn't answer the question. Where did the number come from? It would need to be something that was designed by an engineer with mechanical engineer, an architect, with mechanical engineers weighing in and doing their design and so forth, and then doing a cost estimate on that. So where did the $400,000 come from?
So I don't have that information, Dave.
All right. So again, to do any type of capital work such as this, alterations to the building, you're going to have to go through the building department or the building inspector. He's going to require engineered drawings of the entire project. And when you get those types of engineered drawings, you're going to have also an associated cost estimate. So I don't know how it's possible where we have a fiscal year that starts July 1st, how it will be possible if this type of thing was in the budget to get all of that work done and get the actual construction work done over the summer. I don't know how that's possible. So if that isn't possible, I think that the smart thing to do would be to be asking for money for an engineering study or an architectural engineering study to accomplish what the district is looking to accomplish, and then have that estimate done and have all of the information that would then go to next year's town meeting for the actual funding for the project. Because I'll tell you, the finance committee, speaking as a finance committee member and knowing the way that we operate, will never approve bringing forward a $400,000 capital project when there is really no no evidence, number one, of the need that before us, and that will come, and number two, that there is no real design solution with cost estimates associated with it.
So that's a good moment to remember that what we're looking at for this item on this agenda is to look at precisely that. What is realistic to recommend for the full school committee to then recommend forward to the towns. So looking at a timeline for this project, would it be reasonable to look at an option of, well, let me back up. When we're looking for the bathrooms to go in at Dawson, is that including any kind of architectural drawings and so on?
That's a question for Dan, right? Or Mark?
Yeah, that's a question for Dan and Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, I could jump in. I agree with Dave. I mean, this does need a lot more study. The number, like I say, I'm recently plugged in here. That number existed long before I showed up here, and it was a number that they had been working with. How they got to that number, I don't know. I'm sure there's some history behind the number, Dave. I don't think anybody would have just thrown it out and put it on the paper like that. But I do agree with what you said, and I don't know how Dan feels about it, but maybe asking for that study money would be the way to go this time around.
I mean, that's what you have to do before you can bring a capital project forward. You have to have full justification for it, and you have to actually know how much you're asking for to do the work. And the other thing, you may think you have the best solution, what you're proposing here, but you bring an architectural firm on and an engineering firm, and they look at the piping for the building and look at where everything runs and stuff, and they may come back with a different solution that is better than the one that we're looking at here. So, again, I just think that, the smart thing to do would be to look for monies for an engineering study that could begin July 1st and hopefully be concluded sometime late in the fall. And then whatever that number is can then be, programmed to look at, for next year's budget. Once July 1st opens up, you get the shovels in the ground and hopefully get it done in that year. And just one thing, Dan, I don't want to say correct you, I don't mean it that way, but when you talked about 3 years capital work, I know it was either 2 or 3 years ago that we appropriated, it was just south of $1 million to do some roofing and gutter and other work. I think a lot of it was at Davis Hill, if I recall. So it isn't that we've ignored the needs of the school building over the past years. We did put $1 million, or just a little south of $1 million, into one of those buildings. And again, I think it was Davis Hill years ago.
Yeah, Holden has, we looked at this plan that Holden had put together last year in the previous version of the facilities subcommittee. And it was incredibly helpful. The study that Holden had done of all of the town buildings.
Mm-hmm.
That was an incredibly useful document that it would be helpful if all of the towns had put in that kind of preparation. Carl, Deirdre, do you have any questions? No? Okay. So then I think at this point, because we have other items on the list to go down as well, I'd like to move on to the number 2 item, to Paxton. Oh, where'd Dan go?
Don't complain.
The old hit the sharing and instead of hitting the hang up.
That's what I was thinking too. Those buttons are too close to each other.
As
Welcome
MacArthur said, I returned. Hit the wrong button there. Sorry about that. So again, for Paxton, we had presented a couple of items, all pretty much in this ballpark here, and we're recommending that this be the one item that's brought forward for their town meeting. When I submitted the information to the town administrator back in November, I've not heard any follow-up. I don't know, Kyle, if you had heard anything since that meeting. And there wasn't any discussion. There wasn't any discussion at last week's budget presentation relative to this item here. But so this is again, we're looking at one item here. If we and I apologize, I hit the wrong button. So if we just go back to Holden for a second, I know Dave jumped off the call. But if we do go forward with what he suggested, at the end of the day, the warrant for town meeting, for any town meeting, does need to have a number associated with that. So if we go forward with a study, if you will, we're still going to need to identify a cost relative to that study. Subcommittee jumped off the call. I would have asked him, do you have a suggested number in terms of what that might be?
Well, is that something that we can find that out, but I'm just thinking in terms of the timeline of making a recommendation for the full committee by Monday.
I can certainly either speak with him tomorrow or the finance chair to see, how they want to proceed. This will probably come up tomorrow night. It sounds like given what he had stated there, the item as it currently exists will probably be amended and probably to read, a feasibility study, for lack of a better term, in the sum of X dollars, with the intent that if it does get supported, the work would actually start a year from this July of 23.
Right. Okay. All right. Are we ready to talk Paxton then? I mean, as going forward, if that works for when it comes time for making a motion, if we can have a placeholder like that, I don't know, and have an update in time for Monday.
So we can try, Linda. The other thing too, if I may, with utmost respect to my former colleague, we worked together briefly elsewhere. When we submit a capital plan, these are our best attempt at giving a number without having to spend additional cost for studies and what have you. We're not looking to pull a number from the stratosphere and plug it in. I would argue that any project here is our best estimate to give you folks a cost, knowing that the numbers could clearly change, especially in this economy. Excuse me, just the cost of materials and the cost of labor, even since last fall, has gone off the stratosphere, so to speak.
Well, so just in the interest of time, I do want to make sure we go to all of the projects, and if we can return to the Holden, how we want to consider the Holden project. If we can do that for after we've gone through all of them, then I think we'll smooth out the process of how we want to change anything that comes along. So for Paxton, no new updates other than it was submitted earlier in the fall.
Yep, it was submitted. Actually, I submitted to Paxton the items that we had on our plan, and again, I submitted that to the town administrator at the time. I haven't heard anything, so I don't know, Kyle, if I may, you again, you haven't heard anything either, correct?
All right. Well,
That's
then,
correct. I haven't heard anything.
Princeton, we're looking at recommending the water treatment project, approximately $100,000. There's a lot going on. What I can tell you about Princeton, though, too, is that we did have on our plan replacing locks or whatever, and I think the town is actually looking to have that on their warrants for the town meeting. I guess a question, Linda, that I would have is, do we align that, even though this is our recommendation, with what they're looking to do for Thomas Prince? Do we run with this?
so my feeling is to go with what the town is ready to do. And if we want to, instead of recommending the new water system, recommend basically support their decision to go forward with the locks part, then I would see value in being aligned together that way. Carl, Deirdre, any thoughts?
So I'm sorry, I think I missed. So they're saying instead of a water system, they want to do.
So the water system, this is our recommendation. This
With the
is
water?
our administration's recommendation, but it's my understanding, and I'll stand corrected, that the town was actually looking to put on their warrant. They were looking at the locks throughout the building up there. That is something that is on our plan. If I don't disconnect this, I can try and put it back up there. Again,
Yeah, so like,
I'm really going to be happy when we get in person again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really going to be happy.
so I guess like my question would be, is it, so the locks are on the plan, but you're going to see where they're on the plan. So would they just kind of like, then the water's done next year? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just wondering like how things, does that kind of get pushed off to another year? I just wouldn't want it to get missed, because there's obviously someone thought that there was a need for the water, to put it on the plan. Or are they saying they don't think it's needed at all?
I don't believe this was on their radar this
Okay.
year. I'm just pulling up the plan now.
I mean, from where I'm sitting, it would be adjusting the timeline, but not getting rid of the project. The CIP is something that we're supposed to review each year. So I would expect the priorities to get shifted based on what was done, what was pushed off.
So we do have the locks on our project. We have a value of approximately $40,000. And I mean, we can, I guess when you go to vote, if you want to align this with theirs, you can do that. Again, our number might be different from their number, depending on how they got their information.
So was the locks were on the plan for this year also? Do you see what year it was on there for?
23.
Okay.
FY 23.
Well, that would be next
So no,
Am I
no,
reading that
we're
right, or is it this
discussing.
year? This
So
is this year. Okay,
so we're discussing FY23
we
capital
are.
projects.
Okay. So I'm like, that would be this year, right? Trying to figure out where we are. Okay. So so there's a couple things listed on the plan, and this is one of the ones, including the water. We were going to propose the water. They're saying the locks. So the water gets pushed off to another year. Is that kind of what we're thinking? Yeah.
Yes. Do you see the plan? You folks see the plan?
I do. Yep.
Yep.
Thank
Alright.
you. Okay.
And with the what you understand of the Princeton, what they've been looking at, it would be security system and cameras and locks. Am I looking at the right one?
So it's my understanding, Linda, that they're looking at just rekeying the
Oh, the
locks
bottom
throughout
one.
the building, and not the security system. Maybe when it comes time to make the motion, it'd be such that to align the district's capital requests for Princeton in concert with that of the town of Princeton, if that sounds right. I'm not telling you what to do. I apologize for that.
Right. Okay. Are there any other questions on this item? All right, then let's I know Dan, you gave an overview of Rutland. Do you mind? Let's just make sure we've got the.
Sure. So again, the town administrator initially approached us about partnering with him regarding the parking lots. Again, you see it here over at Naquag, and it's going to be the same throughout Rutland. The number's a little bit different in the other buildings, but it's got the parking lot at 75K and the curbing the sidewalks at 35K. So, we will throw that in. As I said earlier, Mark does have a meeting later on this week, and the town administrator did ask me to sharpen our pencil, so we're doing that. But he also said to me in that discussion, throw in, if you will, the electrical panel work, which you can see here is 125,000. Mark met with our electrician today, and he thought that estimate was a pretty good number. Is there anything in there, Mark, that you want to share about the 125?
No, the 125 should be fine on that. Like I say, our electrician just recently finished a similar project, so the costs are pretty competitive and right up there with what's going on with the economy and everything. The only setback on it was the lead time was a little difficult to deal with. But we're dealing with that on everything. But no, he thought that the budget of 125 would be sufficient.
So, Linda, the question becomes, I'll defer to the committee, but I'd love to roll in that 125 into the note that they're considering when I write the memo, and if that if that doesn't fly, maybe we have a separate article and for the warrant for the 125, and because it can always be pulled from town meeting floor, it can always be passed over if need be. But the 125 is necessary. Again, we've talked about this. This is building safety. The question becomes, if this doesn't fly at all with the town, if the town meeting doesn't support it, either the parking lot or the electrical panel, then what? Maybe that we hold off on the parking lots another year. Parking lots, plural, and the curbs, plural. But the panel is something that needs to be considered, and given the value of the work, this would still be the town's responsibility just because it's over the 35K.
Yeah, so just to make, put it out there, given the kind of work that it is, I think I know the answer here, but is there any way that it can be broken into phases if that number doesn't match town expectations?
The electrical part, Linda? No,
Yeah,
no,
Right.
that's a soup to nuts deal on one section.
yeah. So it can't be broke. I mean, it's a panel, right? So
Well, it's more than a panel, but no, it's a room. Let's put it that way. But no, that's not to be broken down. That's soup to nuts, big piece of the puzzle that's missing over there.
any other questions? All right, then we've got the carpets at Houghton and Choxet.
Again, we spoke about this, Linda and Deirdre, when we were, presenting the budgets out in Sterling a couple of weeks ago. I think this was kind of competing with the playground discussion that evening. I did forward the CIP to the chair of the BOS, the next day. And again, this number, the 200K, that may be a fluid number in light of the state of the economy, but this would be addressing what is probably been a long-standing question. And by that I mean, or in a matter, probably the better part of 10 years or so that people have been talking about the carpeting out there. So, and again, my takeaway that evening, I'll stand corrected, was there's actually an appetite for some project out there. So 200K for the carpeting at Houghton Choxet.
So one question I have is, do you know what it will be replaced with? Like what kind of tile?
So we'd have to have those discussions, Linda, and we would obviously build them into a procurement document. Would these be the carpet tiles that you put down throughout the building, or would just be replacing the the carpeting with carpeting or tile? I guess to be determined.
I would just strongly recommend against carpet. We don't want to put new carpet instead of the old carpet. The carpet is the problem, not just the age of it, right? It's just not an inappropriate material for the school buildings, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, it's
Yeah.
interesting talking with the at the Simco meeting last month and how the teachers were weighing in on that, and they were like, "Please don't put carpet." So I don't know, I don't know. They were kind of saying the same thing where they were like, "Carpet's just not good for kids. Like it's the allergies alone and cleanliness and stuff like that." So, but there's definitely need for new flooring of some sort. So I mean, I don't know if that changes the number, changes like if it goes to town meeting as carpet, and I'm putting that like an air quote, would there be any resistance if someone comes back and says, actually, a better solution would be hypoallergenic tiling or something? Do you know how that would work, Dan?
So I mean, they could change on town meeting floor the language of the warrant, but once it gets voted by town meeting, you got to run with that. So
they have to put in carpet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, can we change it to say flooring?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you tonight, if we take this vote, you can, when you come to Sterling, you can say replace the carpeting at Houghton Choxet with
Flooring.
an appropriate flooring product, i.e.
Yeah.
tile or what have you.
I mean, the CIP does say tile.
We've We've been
Right,
It
using,
does say tile. Oh, can you
Mhm.
flip the page, Dan?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Please.
Yep.
I thought it said carpet, but when I was looking at it, I was looking at it sideways on my screen because I couldn't figure out
It's right there. It's tile,
how to do it. It does say tile.
right there.
Replace
You
it
see,
carpeting with tile. Okay.
you see that,
All right.
Deidre?
Yep. Yeah, I do see it. Thank you. Okay.
my thought and recommendation would be some type of a VCT, vinyl composite tile,
Hmm.
easily cleanable. Any place we've been, we just did some rooms at Mayo, recently, similar stuff. Ripped up the carpeting and put down that tile. So I mean, that's what we would recommend. That's what I would recommend.
So we got to make sure that that language is in there though, Linda, just because I think if it goes to town meeting, like I would be concerned that it would go to town meeting as replace the carpet, and then someone's like expecting carpet, and I don't know if that would like tie hands to having other options, but
So, so like Dan said, when it comes to our motion, it would
mhm,
be replace carpeting with
with
tile,
tile. Okay, that
like
sounds
it
good.
says on the CIP.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
Um,
Was any conversation happening after the town meeting as to like Dan, did you talk to anyone from Sterling after that town meeting about this project? Um,
After our budget presentation that night?
yeah.
Nope. I haven't spoken to anyone. No.
Okay. No, just kind of.
I did talk to the Capital Committee chairperson today,
Mhm.
just to go over the CIP items and talking about the priorities and letting her know about this agenda for tonight. So they um they know they know that this is a topic of discussion. So
Okay.
all right, Dan, did you want to discuss number 6?
I do, Madam Chair, Linda. So I've had a couple conversations today about item 6, and the long and skinny of it is that administration is looking to withdraw this request as of now. I spoke with Darrow at length about this today. He thought that really the way to go here would be to resurface the track only, and not address the tennis courts. In that discussion, and I was telling Darryl, and I think I mentioned to you, Linda, and maybe Mark, a number of years ago, I had a similar project in another district, and we did a resurface of the track around the football field, and that was, I'll say, 10 years ago. Don't hold me to the exact date. It cost us about 22K. But that was, again, 10 years ago. So if we scale back on the project here, and we look at just the resurface of the track, I'm not so sure that that's really accomplishing. And Mark, made a number of good points when I spoke with him about this, and I'll give him a second to weigh in on this. You want to do it right. You do. So if it were 35 or 40, and we took it out of our operational budget, number one, we're putting a pretty big dent in the operational budget at the high school. We are. And secondly, at 35 or 40, and at that number, I don't think that we're really doing it the way that we should be doing it. And Linda, you and I had a brief discussion as well, and that cash, let's just say 40,000, just to use a number, could probably be invested in other matters at the high school. So for that reason, it just makes sense at this point that administration withdraw this request, and we can circle back, we as a committee, later this year into next year, and look at the landscape. There'll be a new superintendent on board, and he or she can weigh in on this as well, because you want to do it right. You're spending that type of cash. You don't want to shortchange ultimately the kids. So, did I miss anything, Linda, in that discussion?
No, I think that covers it. Is there any clamoring for keeping it as part of what we would put forward to the full, or are you, Deirdre and Carl, are you okay with the administration withdrawing this as a suggestion? I'm seeing nods.
So wait. So I just have a question on I'm learning. So high school big ticket items like this at the high school actually end up going out to, how do they actually get dispersed to all 5 towns? Because don't all 5 towns contribute to this, Dan? Or how does that work?
They would. So this is a bigger discussion. I think that's the other piece too.
Okay. I mean, we don't have to have that tonight. If you want to educate me another night, another time.
Sure. Okay.
But is the reason why you want to withdraw it because you think that the 190 is not enough, or you think that the environment right now with the towns being stretched so thin just wouldn't have a appetite for it, so to speak?
So, if you look at these numbers here, again, you look at Holden, whatever the number we vote there, but let's just say it's $100,000. 100,000
Yeah.
there, 50K Paxton, 100K potentially, or 40K, I'm sorry, at Princeton. At least $125, if not, 200,000 out in Rutland, and then Sterling, 200,000. It's ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
It's a lot of
adding
money,
up.
right?
It's adding up.
Mhm.
I don't think using operational funds is the way to go, because I think that we're shortchanging ourselves. I think if like with the football, with the turf field a couple years ago, you want to make the investment
Mhm.
in the facility, and have it last a number of years. Given the condition of the track over there, that's a pretty significant project, and you want to do it right.
Okay.
All right. So do you guys have any questions about the projects in general or in specific? I have one, but I wanted to make sure you guys have your chance. All right. So the question that I have is about timing and resources for overseeing these projects, and what would the timeline going forward, assuming all the towns vote for these, approve these in May, what would that look like next for the district?
So, and I'm going to go in no particular order, but Rutland, for example, I mean, again, Mark and I were talking about this today. I think, and Mark did mention this, 15, 20 minutes ago. That's probably almost a year out. Is that correct, Mark?
Yeah, the timing on those projects, that type of projects, just, collecting all the materials is up to a year out.
So,
So
yeah.
that would be summer of 23, not fiscal year. So, but well, I guess it still would be fiscal year, but
No, that would
June
be fiscal year,
2023.
Linda, that would be fiscal year 24.
If you think past July.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So this passes in, the annual town meeting this May. What Mark is saying is that our electrician, the company that we use, is telling us this is probably almost a year out. Seems like a long time. It does, but I think we can safely assume that a project like that is going to be pushed out for sure. I know a couple of years ago, Linda, when Sterling approved the hot water tank, I believe it was over there. I'll say it's like 45K thereabouts. The Ross at that time, who was the town administrator, he actually did the procurement for that project. So if these were to go through the respective towns, I would assume that the town would be doing the procurement. And maybe we would partner with them, and Mark would be our boots on the ground kind of guy.
Okay, so would you assume there's that kind of lead for all of these projects where they wouldn't actually? So for instance, let's look at Sterling. Let's say it passes. Would it be potentially this summer, or would we be looking at next summer as well for also?
That's the $200,000 question.
Are you asking as far as getting material or as far as getting
Material, Mark.
No, I don't see that the reason in VCT tile or something you're using like that. I mean, maybe a color might be hard to get, Linda, but I think we could I could certainly have an answer for you very very quickly, but it was just the nature of the beast we were dealing with the electrical components in Rutland, that the warehouses that we did the pricing through the past day or two, just to check those numbers we had, were giving us the tip that, by the way, there's a long lead time on this stuff. We just waited. Dan will tell you, we waited almost a year, or good 3/4 of a year, for the lights for the high school for the turf. They just came in this week, and we've been sitting on that project for quite a while. So very very similar stuff.
I guess it's a project by project response, Linda. The Rutland electrical panel project, let's say it's not a year, let's say it's 6 months. Well, that's still 6 months. Some of these projects, if you can, you'd love to get them done during the summer months. That's the ideal time to do them. There's, aside from the custodians being the buildings, I guess aside from the buildings out in Sterling, because they use them, for the extended, the summer programs, but it's the ideal time. You sure as heck don't want to have contractors in the buildings if you can avoid it when there are students and faculty around. That's one less thing to worry about. It'd be our luck, that that and and the cameras, the camera system in Paxton. A couple of years ago, pre-COVID, we put some. We use a vendor, and we did put some cameras up at another building up in Thomas Prince, and there was no issue with that. It'd be our luck this time that they can't get a certain particular camera, and excuse me. Now we're pushed out, until October, whatever. I mean, just look at the project next door here at ECC. We had put that out to bid late last spring. We had every intention of starting that project next door, like June 16th, the day that everyone left the building. And then we were informed that, again, because of the issue with getting materials and what have you, that the product wasn't arriving to mid-October thereabouts. It did, and then we got the project done. They cranked it out during the holiday break in December. I guess with construction, I guess anything is possible as well. The best laid plans don't necessarily always happen. And Mark, as a former contractor, he can certainly speak to that. Fair to say?
Oh yeah.
So part of why I wanted to ask that is to get a sense of district time besides the material and the timeline for the project itself. Um, how do you have a picture of what that would, if these are potentially all spread out, that would work? What if they're all lumped all in the summer of 2024? Is that 2024's problem, or FY 24's?
I guess what I'm thinking, Linda, is to let's just say that Rutland passes the parking lot, the paving, et cetera. And they support the town administrator's plan to float a bond to fund that work. And let's just say that includes their $125,000 for the electrical work. Well, we know now, given Mark's conversation with our guy, that ain't happening during the summer months. And let's face it, if you're doing a major project in a parking lot, you're really going to get that done when there aren't a lot of cars that you have to move someplace else on a given day. I don't know. I can't speak for the availability of. I don't know if they would use tar. What do you think, Mark, to do that?
A lot of them are summer projects. They are summer projects. It's just the nature of the beast. You've got 4 to 5 work days in a vacation week. It doesn't get the big stuff done normally, but sometimes it does. In the instance of the ECC work we did over the Christmas break, that was completed in 4 to 7 days, depending on which contract you were dealing with. But something as big as the sidewalks, curbing, and parking lot, for instance, at one school would be pretty involved project.
Any other questions? All right. So then I would like to go back and let's see. Actually, can you help me out here a little bit? Is we can work on the wording of these items and then begin the motion. Is that correct?
Sure.
Yep. Okay. Let's go backwards because I think that's the easiest order of projects to get the wording right. So we're striking number 6, the high school project. For this motion, it would stay on the CIP. It just wouldn't be a recommendation to the full committee. And feel free to chime in if you have something to say too. For Sterling, it would be replace the carpeting with new flooring tile at Houghton and Choxet schools, value $200,000. And so when it comes time to putting this forward at the town warrant level, assuming it goes through here and at the full committee, the wording would be worked out with the individual town.
That's correct.
Right. Yeah.
The actual language, if this, stay with Sterling, for example, if Sterling's, and I'm taking notes here too, if Sterling supports this, the language on the warrant, I would work with whomever, town council, town administrator, whoever, to have the correct wording. We're not writing this motion here is not the actual motion to be read at town meeting. We're just trying to get information to the full committee to have an understanding of what it is that you want to bring forward to the towns. Correct?
Right.
I don't want to be speaking for people here, but
no, I mean, just like when we pass the assessments, the way that the number is what goes forward, but it's worded differently. Actually, in each town, they word the warrant a little bit differently.
They do.
Um,
Yeah, they
yeah.
do. Yeah.
So all right. So then, for our purposes, replace the carpeting with new flooring, i.e. tile, at Houghton and Choxet schools, value $200,000. Then for Rutland, replace the main electrical panel at Naquag, value $125,000. And at Princeton, install locks throughout the, is it throughout the building, throughout Thomas Prince?
Yep.
And the value is $40,000. For Paxton, install security system and cameras at Paxton Center School, value $50,000. And now here's the nut to crack. At the moment, it says Holden build additional bathrooms at Dawson, value $400,000. So where I'm looking at it now is if it is, I guess I'm looking at the timeliness of needing to address this problem. How the cost, it is quite a high cost, and then the necessary preparation that the town would want to see in order to work on this.
You know, I'm thinking, Linda, thinking aloud. You know, if someone were to procure an architect, for example, that would probably be our dime. Because I think that's the starting point. I think, you know, Dave White talked about that. That's probably our dime. It's going to be under 35K. You know, maybe we just bite the bullet. And we say for Holden, you know, we don't have anything for Holden this go round, because to Dave's point, you know, we engage an architect. We'd still have to put that out to procurement, but it's because it's going to be over a certain threshold for sure. It's not going to be inexpensive, but I don't think it's going to be 35K or more. I just don't. And that would be the starting point. And then, you know, we come back again next fall with take their recommendation, and run with it for the following year, and have a much more realistic number, I guess. Have the validation of the number with the information prepared by the architect, if we go down that road. But I just need to say, you know, we were using our best educated, I don't want to say guess, but in terms of what these projects may cost, without incurring additional costs out of the operational budget. I mean, you know, I guess we could have dropped 20K now, but did we really want to drop 20K? So that's all I want to say. Again, we weren't pulling numbers out of the stratosphere.
Hey, Dan, excuse me, Linda, excuse me, I just want to jump in. I think on the Princeton project, they had a quote of $52,000 that they were working with.
For the locks?
Yeah, for the locks. That was the live quote. I don't know if we want to, I thought we might want to change that number to be a little more accurate.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
So I just want to, so Dan, just to kind of like support what you were saying about, like, you know, the numbers didn't come out of the air. I kind of went through this a couple of years ago with Recreation Committee here in Sterling, and it was about the fields and stuff like that. But it was recommended also that we get like actual landscaping drawings done and an estimate, and we hire a firm, and that was what we were asking for before we just said we want to replace the fields. So I'm not totally surprised that, you know, Holden is going to say, look, we're not even going to put it on the warrant without that estimate, like a solid plan, you know what I mean? Something in writing by, you know, an architectural firm or an engineering firm or something like that. I'm not totally surprised by that. And I don't think, I mean, I don't think it would be, it's not to say that the number that we, the administration, whoever came up with that number before was wrong. You know, it was just to say that, okay, now we actually kind of need like something in order to, like, I want to say kind of like to in writing kind of an idea or something more concrete. I guess that's the way to think of it. So, yeah.
Well, so yeah, I think that makes sense to, you know, where I struggle, I think I struggle with the same idea with what you're saying, Dan, of we're educating kids, that's the priority. And to take under 35K for a study, it's a little bit different, I think, than taking some amount for a study for other projects that are, you know, for other uses than educating our kids. So would it be expected to further work with the town on how to approach this project without a study out the gate, but to work out how the plans would be developed and to create that bridge before money is laid out? I mean, would that be typically where you could go with a project of this size? Because it seems like outside, you know, my experience on the committee is this is my third year, so I experienced the end of the turf field, but I haven't been part of the process for any other larger capital project. So I don't know if that lines up with an expectation where there just need to be some more of that planning between the district and the town before we say, yes, we need to hire an architect. Does that make sense? I don't know if you can weigh in, Dan.
No, I understand. It does. I guess we'd have to connect with the right folks in the town in terms of. I don't think finance is that group. I mean, whoever it might be that could sit down with us and say, you know, here's your first step. I mean, I think I know what the first step should be. Sure. And we can certainly circle back on that. Yeah.
So then, would it be reasonable to take that to mean that administration would be withdrawing that first item for this year's recommendation to plan for it to move forward after in terms of planning of going through the departments with the town?
Sure. And we can draw that. I think, given what we've been discussing now for a number of months, I think that, I don't want to speak for everyone here, but I think we're all in agreement that there is a potential problem over at Dawson, given the covenant enrollment and anticipated enrollment. But I guess I'll, you know, to go back to the projects at the high school where I said, you know, we want to do it right. You know, we want to do it right here at Dawson. There, as Dave said, there was a reason why that they closed up those bathrooms. And you know, I mean, I'd be happy to even float a trial balloon this summer to see what it would cost to engage an architect, and it may be short money for what appears to be a very much needed project. So if you're asking us to withdraw that item, I'm happy to make that recommendation. knowing that that really was our number one priority within the Holden schools.
So that's the piece that makes me concerned, is because it has been a priority. It delaying. So I think there's two ways of looking at it. We're delaying in order to get ahead versus rushing to get something done. In the meantime, there are kids and staff waiting to go to the bathroom, and that's not immaterial. Carl, go ahead.
So, I mean, I was going to say, I mean, I don't think that, that we would be able to get, even if right after this meeting, Dan ran out and hopped on his system to send out an RFP to get engineering firms to come in and give him bids for what it would cost to do a feasibility study of rejiggering the bathrooms over there. Even if every feasibility study came back at say $40K, you probably still wouldn't have that information before our next school committee meeting.
Oh no.
But I mean, the other thing to consider is, which is the advantage of having a priority list, is there are two items over at Dawson pertaining to the cafeteria, which were priority number 2. So if we're not able to get the lead of everything for priority number 1, would we just then move on to the work in the cafeteria for priority number 2, which it looks like it's windows and AC units, total $800K or $80K. Something that's on the list to be done anyway. So would it be, it's not that I mean, there's just more steps, I guess, for the top priority item in order to try and get some money put against it. But again, if I could see an argument for priority number 2, lower dollar amount. I don't think that there will necessarily, I mean, only just reading the bullet about windows and AC units, it doesn't seem like that's the type of thing that would be something that would necessitate a lot of engineering work or because you're not really tearing things up. You're that's more of a, almost like a construction or even a replacement type procurement, it seems like. So that might be another path as well, just shifting to priority number 2 for this year until we can get things in line for the bigger project.
If I may, I think one other takeaway, excuse me, that I had with Dave hopping on the call, excuse me, is that I thought he said, this is the first I've heard about this, or I've heard about any capital project, I get the sense that there probably was no appetite for any capital project because they've not heard of any requests for any capital project. Maybe we begin the grassroots effort, for lack of a better term, now, and plant the seed and say, yep, okay, we heard you. This was a surprise, as Golden Pyle said 100 years ago. How'd that sound? No, that's not Golden Pyle. Okay. But maybe we, for short money, and I'm assuming it would be short money, engage, I'll say, an architect to even give us some. At least we're beginning the foundation for that project. I don't know, Mark. What are your thoughts on that? You're muted, Mark.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of. I think maybe we could move to the second item and throw that up this year, and then take Dave's lead on the first item, and he's in.
So I think I would be concerned just because one of the reasons I wanted to keep these capital items moving was because we have talked about them in our group for this year. So I would be reluctant. I wouldn't feel prepared, to be honest, to put another project for Holden other than the bathrooms, just because we've only discussed the bathrooms at length here. I think that going forward to the next budget cycle, to have that higher on our agendas of moving forward on Dawson, but is there anything that we can do on the list? And I think that that would build for a better year, a better March, if we can do that, if we can plan for the future that way a little bit better. That's on me for not bringing the other, priority number 2 up at each time that we've talked about the priorities for each town.
Maybe what we say for this here, Linda, and again, we have talked at a great length about for the Holden schools. This was like the top project. I mean, it really, I think it has been. I'll stand corrected for the Holden schools. Maybe what we say here is that administration will initiate a procurement to secure an architect as a starting point for the bigger project. And that is something that we would pay for the operational. So you wouldn't be looking for a vote, but making a comment. We acknowledge that this project on the CIP is important, but we know that we need to build from the base up in the first blocks, if you will, in that construction are, engaging an architect and having that firm or that person tell us how we should proceed with the next bigger project.
Yeah, I think that matches with what I'm hearing of what would build the most successful project for the future, right? Is if we start there. So at this point, let's see, if we're withdrawing the Holden project, we've got Paxton, Princeton, Rutland, and Sterling. All right, so then if you look on your agenda, I'm going to, I think the easiest way to do this, I think, is to entertain a motion to recommend to the full school committee the following 4 projects to be brought forward to the respective towns for placement on the warrant for their annual town meetings. The projects are as follows. 1, Paxton install security system and cameras at Paxton Center School, value of $50,000. 2, Princeton install locks at Thomas Prince School, value $52,000. 3, Rutland replace main electrical panel at Naquag Elementary School, value $125,000. And 4, Sterling replace carpeting with new flooring, i.e. tile, at Houghton and Choxet Schools, value $200,000.
Linda, I have that written up. Do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm looking for someone to move that motion and second it.
Hold on. Let's take a quick look and make sure the language is good for everybody. I don't know. Can you see it yet?
Yeah, we can see it. Or I can.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so so moved.
Should say the following 4 projects.
The following.
Oh,
5?
before the
Okay.
4.
Okay. 4. Yep. See. Thank you.
So it's moved. Do we have a second?
Is it fine that I've seconded after it's been edited?
Oh, so
Oh,
she said 4. She said 4. I just wrote it
Okay.
wrong. So
All
I
right.
think
Then-
she said it right, I believe, right, Linda? You said 4.
I said 4.
Okay.
We can roll the tape.
I know, seriously.
So then second, yes.
So Carl seconds, okay.
All right. Any further discussion?
Is this an amended motion? Because the original motion that was posted on the minutes was different, or is this the actual motion?
This is the actual motion, I believe, unless,
But this is amended from what was on the agenda.
What was amended on it? Okay, because I think we couldn't have a conversation until the original motion was made, right? As we're all still trying to figure this all out. So I'm having this as amended motion on the minutes.
okay.
Okay, all right. So there's no other discussion from me. I'm okay.
All right, then I'll do a roll call vote. Deirdre,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. So the motion passes.
Okay.
I will send a message to Chair Dennis and Randy to have this added to the March 7th agenda. And I hope that you both will be able to attend, and as I'm sure that there will be a discussion.
Mhm.
All right. So now the next item on the agenda is new business. I have one item that it might not be at the next meeting, but I do want to talk about the possibility of an energy audit and the recycling initiatives based on the students' letter at the full meeting a few meetings ago. So I would like to look into that, see if there's anything that we can do about, making our practices more sustainable, hopefully cheaper, more energy efficient. And was there any other new business? Yeah. Okay. Then for the next meeting, so I was looking at the schedule of the full meetings, and I don't know if this is feasible. If we wish to add in a policy update to this cycle before reorganization, we would need to have it on the full agenda no later than April 11th, so that we would have time for the 2 readings, which means that we potentially could meet maybe Monday, April 4th. I don't know if that sounds reasonable. We can, and my intention with that would be to do a policy reading. I don't know if administration would be ready to have any suggestions to I've lost the number of the policy we've been talking about.
I know,
think it was-
Linda, I know what it is that I know that we've been talking about that, so.
That would be what I would expect to look at for the next meeting if we want to try, and we can talk about if that seems like something we want to try to do before reorganization, or let that be next committee's problem. And otherwise, April 4th, Monday, presumably in person. Does that work for everybody's schedules so far?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. With that, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Do we have I'm sorry, do we have a
Oh,
time?
it's fine. What do people like? 6:30? 7? Maybe let's do 6 in case we get a surprise full meeting.
Mhm.
Okay. Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mhm. So moved.
Oh, just sorry.
Oh.
Before I was just gonna say, for Mondays, 6 will be harder for me. Like 6. I mean, 6:30 would be better than
Okay.
6. So
Okay, let's do 6:30, and then if there's a full meeting, we'll adjust.
okay. And I second the motion.
Okay. All right, Deirdre,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, thank you very much, everybody, and meeting's adjourned.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks, Mark, for sticking around for a really long day. You too, Dan, but
Don't worry about it. Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
bye.